Winning doesn't start on the battlefield. It starts in the mind. Every great achievement, every victory, begins as a seed of belief. When Thomas Edison was trying to create the light bulb, he didn't fail 1,000 times. He found 1,000 ways that didn't work. That's the mindset of a winner. Winners see possibilities where others see obstacles. You may not have all the answers right now. You may not know exactly how to get where you want to be. But believing you can is the first step. Belief is not just about thinking positively. It's about knowing, deep down, that you have the capacity to overcome. Marcus Aurelius said, "What stands in the way becomes the way." It means that every obstacle is a chance to grow stronger, smarter, better. Your belief is the fuel that will keep you moving forward. Your belief is the fuel that will keep you moving forward, even when the road gets rough and the night seems darkest. Write down one goal you're working toward. Underneath it, write, "I will win." Every morning, read it aloud. When doubt creeps in, ask yourself, what if I succeed? Let that question spark hope instead of fear. Surround yourself with reminders of past successes, no matter how small. They are proof that you can and will overcome again. Motivation is fleeting. One day it's there, the next it's gone. Winners don't rely on motivation. They rely on discipline. They show up whether they feel like it or not. It's not glamorous. It's not always fun. But it's what makes the difference. Discipline becomes a commitment to oneself, a promise to keep pushing forward, even in the absence of external encouragement. It's about honoring your own word and knowing that every action, no matter how small, brings you closer to your goal. Picture a runner training for a marathon. Some days they feel energized, ready to hit the pavement. Other days, their legs are tired, their mind is foggy. But they run anyway. Why? Because they understand that success is a product of consistency. They understand that discipline is the bridge between goals and achievement. Every step taken, every drop of sweat is an investment in the future. This isn't just about physical endurance. It's about mental resilience, about building the kind of character that refuses to back down. The runner knows that each moment of hardship endured adds to the strength they'll need on race day. With each stride, they are not just building fitness, they are forging determination. Think of an artist working on a masterpiece. There are days when inspiration flows effortlessly and the brush dances across the canvas. But on other days, it feels like every stroke is a battle. Yet they keep painting. They show up, not because they are motivated, but because they are dedicated. They understand that mastery comes from repeated effort, from showing up when it's difficult. This is how discipline transforms effort into excellence. Over time, what begins as a struggle becomes a rhythm, an unbreakable habit that turns ordinary effort into extraordinary results. The Stoics taught that we cannot control external events, but we can control our actions. Discipline is that control. It's choosing to act in alignment with your goals, no matter how you feel. It's about forming habits that become second nature, making success inevitable. Over time, discipline becomes a guiding principle, an internal compass that steers you through uncertainty and doubt. When things go wrong, discipline keeps you grounded. When emotions threaten to overwhelm, discipline keeps you steady. Discipline is about understanding that feelings are temporary, but the results of your actions can last a lifetime. The daily grind, the quiet persistence, and the steadfast resolve to keep going are what separate those who dream from those who achieve. Winners understand that discipline is not a burden, but a gift they give to their future selves. It is a tool that turns ordinary days into stepping stones toward greatness. Winners learn to embrace discipline, knowing that while motivation may ignite the spark, it is discipline that fuels the fire long after the initial excitement fades. With each disciplined action, they are carving a path toward success, one unshakable step at a time. Create a daily routine that supports your goal. Stick to it for 30 days, tracking your progress. Set a small reward for yourself each week. You stay consistent. Celebrate discipline, not just results. Identify potential distractions and plan how you will deal with them in advance. Winners aren't afraid to fail. They know that failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of the journey to success. Michael Jordan once said, "I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." His story exemplifies that failure is not the end. It's a powerful stepping stone towards success. Each missed shot taught him a lesson, refined his skill, and strengthened his resolve. Failure teaches you more than success ever could. It shows you where to improve, what to change, and how to adapt. It reveals your weaknesses so that you can turn them into strengths. The Stoics believed in the concept of amor fati, loving one's fate. It means accepting every event, good or bad, as a necessary step in your path. Every failure is feedback, a nudge in the direction of your goal. When you embrace failure, you unlock the wisdom hidden within setbacks. You learn to stand taller, grow stronger, and face new challenges with greater resilience. Think about the Wright brothers, who faced numerous failed attempts before they finally achieved powered flight. Each failure wasn't a defeat, but a lesson on what didn't work. They adjusted, recalibrated, and tried again. This relentless pursuit of improvement, guided by their willingness to learn from failure, eventually changed the world. Winners understand that failure is not a reflection of their worth, but an opportunity for growth. Each setback became a step forward, an essential piece of the larger puzzle of success. So, when you fail, don't give up. Don't beat yourself up. Learn, adapt, and keep going. Remember, the strongest steel is forged in the hottest fire. Failure shapes you, molds you, and prepares you for the victories ahead. Every setback is setting you up for a comeback. Embrace the process, trust the journey, and know that each failure brings you one step closer to success. Use each stumble as a lesson, each detour as a test of your resolve, and each disappointment as fuel for future triumph. Reflect on a recent failure. Write down 3 lessons you learned from it. Share your failure with someone you trust. Discuss how it has made you stronger and what changes you will make moving forward. Adopt a mantra: I don't lose, I learn. Repeat it whenever you face setbacks. Perseverance is the quiet strength of the winner. It's waking up every day and choosing to try again. It's refusing to quit when things get tough. Perseverance is what turns dreams into reality. It's about committing to the process, knowing that success is not an event, but a journey made up of countless small efforts. Each effort, no matter how minor it may seem, contributes to the larger goal, laying the groundwork for eventual success. Perseverance is the invisible force that turns everyday struggles into future victories, transforming what seems impossible into a step-by-step reality. Think of J.K. Rowling, who was rejected by 12 publishers before finally getting her first book accepted. Or think of Nelson Mandela, who spent 27 years in prison before becoming the President of South Africa. These stories remind us that perseverance is often the key to long-term success. Behind every overnight success is a story of years, sometimes decades, of perseverance. It's not just about enduring the hard times, but about finding meaning in the struggle. Each rejection, each setback, becomes a chapter in the story of triumph. Every person who achieves greatness carries a tale of resilience, of moments when they could have given up, but chose instead to keep pushing forward. Each setback became an opportunity for growth, a lesson in persistence and a testament to inner strength. Consider Thomas Edison, who famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." His story exemplifies the relentless spirit of perseverance. Each failure was a step closer to innovation. He didn't view obstacles as the end, but as valuable lessons. Every experiment that didn't yield the desired result brought him closer to success by eliminating what wouldn't work. Winners understand that the road to success is rarely straight. It is filled with detours, obstacles, and moments of doubt. Yet, through persistence, they learn to navigate these challenges, becoming stronger with each trial. They know that perseverance doesn't guarantee immediate results, but it guarantees progress, no matter how small. The Stoics had a word for enduring hardship without complaint: anarchein. They believed that true strength lies in the ability to bear life's difficulties with grace. Winners persevere because they know that every storm eventually passes, and on the other side lies victory. Perseverance, in the Stoic sense, is about maintaining composure and focus, no matter how difficult the situation becomes. It's about rising above circumstances and continuing to strive forward with unwavering determination. By cultivating inner resilience, they ensure that external events cannot derail their progress. Perseverance isn't merely enduring, it's about thriving amid adversity. It's about finding light in the darkest moments and pushing forward when everything around seems to say, "Stop." Think about those who inspire you, the unsung heroes who work tirelessly behind the scenes, who show up every day despite the odds stacked against them. Their perseverance is often unnoticed, but undeniably powerful. They remind us that true strength isn't about never facing hardship. It's about facing it head-on and choosing to keep going. In the end, perseverance isn't just about reaching the destination. It's about who you become along the way. The quiet strength, the unyielding resolve, the growth that comes from not giving up. This is what defines true winners. The ability to keep going, to persist despite adversity, transforms dreams into reality. It molds character, instills grit, and fosters a mindset that sees setbacks as temporary and surmountable. Each day you persevere, you are not only moving closer to your goal, but also becoming a stronger, wiser version of yourself. This quiet strength becomes your greatest asset on the path to success. The journey of perseverance shapes you into someone who not only achieves, but also inspires others to pursue their dreams with relentless determination. Identify one challenge you're currently facing. Commit to taking one small action every day to overcome it, no matter how minor. Find a quote about perseverance that inspires you. Keep it where you can see it daily, and let it remind you to keep going. Keep a perseverance journal, noting moments when you wanted to quit but didn't. Over time, it will serve as a testament to your strength. Gratitude may not seem like a winning strategy, but it is. Why? Because gratitude shifts your focus from what's missing to what's present. It turns obstacles into opportunities and setbacks into stepping stones. By practicing gratitude, you train your mind to see beyond immediate challenges and into the bigger picture, a perspective that fosters resilience, optimism, and clarity of purpose. It transforms how you experience life, allowing you to find moments of light even in the darkest times. Gratitude is a mindset that, once cultivated, turns even the most mundane moments into opportunities for growth and learning. When you practice gratitude, you cultivate a winning mindset. You begin to see life not as something happening to you, but as something happening for you. Every moment becomes a lesson, every hardship a hidden gift. The Stoics believed in expressing gratitude daily, not just for the good, but also for the bad, because every experience holds value. They taught that gratitude helps to cultivate a sense of inner peace, even in the midst of chaos. by reminding us that life's adversities can shape us into stronger individuals. Gratitude, according to the Stoics, is not a passive act, but a powerful practice that transforms the way we perceive and respond to challenges. This practice, over time, builds inner strength and a sense of fulfillment that goes beyond external success. It teaches us that while we may not control every outcome, we can control our attitude toward it. Gratitude doesn't mean ignoring your problems. It means acknowledging them while also recognizing the good in your life. It's the balance that keeps you grounded. Gratitude transforms the pursuit of winning from a burdensome grind into a fulfilling journey. It helps us find joy not only in the final destination, but in every step of the path. By focusing on what we have rather than what we lack, gratitude fuels a mindset of abundance, which in turn strengthens our resolve to keep moving forward. When we see setbacks as opportunities for reflection and growth, gratitude becomes the tool that turns frustration into motivation. It's the secret ingredient that brings joy to the process, making every step worthwhile. With gratitude, even setbacks can be celebrated as milestones on the path to growth, fueling a sense of purpose that keeps you moving forward. Each moment of appreciation adds to your strength, reminding you that while the road may be long, it is also filled with countless reasons to keep going. Gratitude empowers us to see that every day is a chance to improve, to become better, and to inch closer to our goals. Think about how gratitude impacts your daily life. It shifts your energy, reduces stress, and improves your relationships. When you express gratitude, you build a mental habit of positivity that makes you more resilient in the face of adversity. You begin to see the silver lining in every cloud, the opportunity in every difficulty. This ability to reframe situations with gratitude creates a feedback loop that strengthens both your mind and spirit, turning even the hardest challenges into manageable steps forward. Moreover, gratitude fosters connection with others, enhancing your support network. As you express gratitude to those around you, you inspire a cycle of positivity and encouragement, building a community rooted in appreciation and mutual respect. By practicing gratitude, you not only improve your own life, but also uplift those around you, creating a ripple effect of positivity that can extend far beyond yourself. In the end, gratitude isn't just about what you have. It's about how you perceive what you have and how that perception fuels your journey towards success. Every evening, write down 3 things you're grateful for, including one challenge that taught you something valuable. When facing a difficult situation, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? What is there to be grateful for? Practice expressing gratitude to those around you. It strengthens relationships and builds a support system for your journey. No amount of belief, discipline, or perseverance will matter if you do not take action. Action is the catalyst that transforms potential into reality. It's the bridge between your dreams and your achievements. Winners understand that thinking, planning, and strategizing are important, but without action, they are meaningless. Action is what turns possibilities into progress. It separates those who dream from those who do. Every great achievement begins with the courage to take the first step, however small it may seem. Taking action creates movement, and movement is what propels dreams into tangible outcomes. Think of an architect with a brilliant design. Without the builders to take action and lay the bricks, that design remains just an idea. The same applies to your life. Your plans, goals, and dreams are blueprints, but it is action that brings them to life. The Stoics believed in focusing on what we can control, and action is always within our control. By taking that first step, you move from a state of inertia to one of momentum. Taking action, even if it's imperfect, moves you forward. It creates momentum, and momentum fuels motivation. This cycle, act, progress, gain momentum, builds the habit of continuous forward motion. Every small action taken consistently over time leads to significant transformation. It's not the size of the action that matters most, but the consistency with which you act. Often, we hesitate to take action because we fear failure or because we're waiting for the perfect moment. But winners know that perfection is an illusion. There is no perfect time, there is only now. By acting today, you learn, adapt, and improve. Each action you take, no matter how small, compounds over time, leading to significant progress. Action is not about immediate perfection, it's about consistent improvement. Every time you act, you gain feedback, some positive, some negative, but all valuable. This feedback is essential for growth, helping you refine your approach and gain clarity about what works and what doesn't. More importantly, each action builds confidence, showing you that you are capable of far more than you initially believed. Confidence isn't something you wait for, it's something you earn through repeated action. Action is also about courage. It's about stepping outside your comfort zone and daring to do what others won't. It's about trying, falling, and getting back up again. Without action, self-belief remains a thought, and perseverance becomes stagnant. Action breathes life into these qualities, turning them into results. It's through action that belief becomes conviction, discipline becomes progress, and perseverance becomes triumph. Courage in action means embracing uncertainty, knowing that progress often comes with discomfort. Every time you take action despite fear, you weaken its grip on you and strengthen your own resolve. When you dare to act in the face of fear, you gain not only results, but also an unshakable inner strength. Every courageous action you take reinforces your ability to confront future challenges with greater confidence. Taking action means accepting that you won't always get it right, but you'll always get closer to your goal. By embracing the imperfect nature of action, you give yourself permission to grow. Progress may be slow, but with each step, you move forward, gaining clarity and building confidence. Winners take action not because they are fearless, but because they understand that action is the antidote to fear. When you act, fear loses its power, and you gain the strength to continue. Consistent action builds resilience, sharpens your skills, and ultimately leads to mastery. It's through daily, consistent action that true transformation happens, not overnight, but gradually, as each small effort compounds over time. Small steps, taken repeatedly, become the foundation of monumental progress. Think of a sculptor chipping away at a block of marble. Each strike of the chisel may seem insignificant, but over time, those strikes create a masterpiece. In the same way, each action you take, no matter how small, shapes your future. Winners don't wait for the perfect moment. They create momentum by acting consistently, knowing that every step forward, however imperfect, brings them closer to their dreams. By taking action, you not only change your circumstances, but also transform who you are, becoming someone who doesn't just dream, but does. Through action, you evolve from a passive thinker to an active creator of your destiny, someone who not only imagines possibilities, but brings them to life with every deliberate step forward. Your environment shapes your mindset more than you realize. The people you surround yourself with, the spaces you inhabit, and the daily stimuli you consume all play a vital role in your path to winning. Winners understand that environment can either propel them toward greatness or anchor them in mediocrity. Therefore, they consciously design environments that support their goals, knowing that a well-crafted environment can serve as an invisible hand, guiding them towards success. Think of a gardener cultivating a delicate plant. The right soil, Adequate sunlight and proper care determine whether the plant thrives or withers. The same applies to you. When you surround yourself with individuals who uplift, challenge, and inspire you, you create fertile ground for personal growth. Conversely, being in a toxic environment filled with negativity can stunt your progress, no matter how strong your willpower. Even the most resilient individuals can struggle to flourish when surrounded by doubt and pessimism. Just as a plant cannot thrive in poor soil, you cannot reach your full potential in an environment that constantly drags you down. The Stoics believed in the power of choosing one's company wisely. They taught that we should seek out those who embody the virtues we wish to cultivate. Winners apply this by building a network of mentors, peers, and supporters who share their values and ambitions. They also create physical spaces conducive to focus and productivity, free from distractions. These spaces act as sanctuaries where they can think, work, and recharge. By carefully curating both their personal and professional environments, they set themselves up for long-term success. Your digital environment matters too. What you watch, read, and listen to daily has a profound impact on your mindset. Winners are intentional about consuming content that educates, motivates, and broadens their perspective. They limit exposure to negativity, knowing that it can erode their confidence and drain their energy. Constant exposure to negativity, whether through social media, news, or negative conversations, creates a mental clutter that can cloud judgment and weaken resolve. Therefore, winners are vigilant about protecting their mental space, ensuring that what they consume aligns with their goals and values. To win, you must become the architect of your environment. Remove the elements that hinder your progress and replace them with ones that fuel your ambition. Curate your surroundings to reflect your goals and values. Over time, this supportive environment becomes a powerful force, helping you stay consistent, focused, and resilient in the face of challenges. Whether it's redesigning your workspace to minimize distractions, seeking out a mastermind group for accountability, or simply unfollowing negative influences online, every small adjustment contributes to building an environment that nurtures your growth. By doing so, you create a world that not only supports, but actively accelerates your journey towards success. Identify one negative influence in your environment and take steps to minimize its impact. Surround yourself with at least 3 people who inspire and challenge you to be better. Create a dedicated space for work or personal growth that is free from distractions. Winning isn't about never falling. It's about getting up every time you do. It's about believing in yourself when no one else does. It's about showing up, staying consistent, learning from failure, persevering through hard times, and being grateful for the journey. You have everything it takes to win. The strength, the courage, the discipline, it's all within you. All you have to do is choose it every day. You will win because you are determined to rise above every obstacle. You will win because you refuse to give up. So, when doubt whispers in your ear, when the road gets tough, when you're tempted to quit, remember this: you will win. Because you are unstoppable, because you are unbreakable, because you believe. If this message inspired you, take a moment to reflect. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And most importantly, keep going. Your victory is closer than you think. Believe it, embrace it, live it.